The CNH name stands for quality, and nowhere is that quality more apparent than in CNH remanufactured starters and alternators. These units aren't just repaired or rebuilt, they are completely remanufactured, with absolute attention to detail, extensive testing, and rigorous application of the original equipment specifications. The only way to understand just how thorough this process is to watch it in action at our Springfield, Missouri remanufacturing facility. Starter and alternator cores are first thoroughly inspected, taken apart piece by piece, and carefully examined for flaws. Machinery helps this process, removing shafts and difficult fasteners. Parts that don't meet OEM specs are discarded and replaced with new ones. Parts not as susceptible for wear, such as starter and alternator housings, are inspected and become the basis for the final remanufactured units. The first step in the remanufacturing process is to blast these housings with shot to remove grease, grime, and residue. Other components, such as armatures, field coils, and rotors, are made good as new with a variety of special procedures where quality control makes the difference. After disassembly of the starter, armature shafts are carefully examined to see if there is any warping or damage, and if the journal diameter is sized properly. Armatures then undergo a lathing process to restore critical surfaces to OEM specs. Then the commutators are undercut to extend the life of the unit. An electronic test is then performed on the armature to determine its torque and power capability, and that all conductors are functioning properly. After the starter drive is disassembled, the rollers, sprags, and springs are replaced by new ones, and the drive is thoroughly greased. The drive then undergoes a torque test to verify functionality. Core field coils are tested for magnetic potential to make sure there are no shorts. Damaged ones are replaced with new, and viable coils are re-insulated to extend service life. Alternators undergo their own remanufacturing process. Some rotors, depending on the model, are rewound with magnetic wire on a coil winder. Then the rotor pole shoes are rejoined with the wiring. Slip rings are replaced as needed. Then the entire rotor undergoes a special varnishing procedure that is an example of the extensive remanufacturing quality control. The varnish bolsters structural integrity, and because the alternator is air-cooled, it also helps prevent flying debris from causing electrical shorts. The rotor slip ring is then lathed to original OEM specs. Unlike other remanufacturers, our process submits the rotors to a special balancing process that ensures long bearing life. Even what may seem like small details are not overlooked, such as making sure the threads on the rotor shaft are clear so that the nut fits properly without binding. The rotor is then tested to ensure there are no internal shorts, and it's measured to determine the appropriate outside diameter. The stator is also measured to ensure proper clearance with the rotor. This air gap has to be maintained to promote the highest output efficiency. The stator undergoes electrical tests to qualify ampacity and eliminate any electrical shorts. The stator is also varnished with a procedure that seals it with an insulator to reduce the potential of shorting during hard use. The diodes are checked against proper OEM specs for voltage drop current leakage. Then voltage regulators are performance tested on a unique device. CNH is one of the few remanufacturers who follow this quality control procedure. All of the parts for alternators and starters are put together in the assembly area. Items susceptible to wear, such as bearings, bushings, O-rings, oil seals, oil wicks, brushes, and fasteners, are replaced with brand new supplier parts. Technicians refer to an intranet to access all the critical data required to assemble each product. Workers also use component visual aids along with go, no-go gauges to ensure no mistakes are made in the process. Another unique quality control technique is what's called first piece check, conducted by each technician at the beginning and end of each production run. It verifies that all measurements are consistent and within spec. Nothing is left to chance for critical tolerances. Even fastener torque tools are calibrated twice a day. After assembly, The starters and alternators are carefully tested to verify high standards and that the product is about as perfect as it can get. R&D teams also conduct periodic product life testing. They keep a unit running for 21 straight days for alternators and 1,800 crank cycles for starters, equivalent to a year of hard use to make sure there are no weak areas in products or processes. Remanufactured starters and alternators often have a longer working life than the products they replace. That's because the remanufacturing process includes engineering revisions that have been incorporated into them after the original part was built. On close inspection, it's difficult to tell a remanufactured starter or alternator from a new one. On the job, it's impossible to tell.